Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. Today, you're going to hear a really interesting and valuable conversation, I think, with an incredible practice owner called Erika Morrow, who has a wonderful practice in Savannah, Georgia. And I think in terms of metrics, Erika's practice is definitely up among the top performing practices. But I think most interesting is kind of exploring the mindset and the decisions along the way that has, taken her on her journey. And I think there's a lot that if you share a particular mindset and a particular attitude, there's a lot that I think that will resonate with you in this story, because no matter, what your situation is as an independent practice owner, we face a lot of the same challenges and we faced a lot of the same choices and decisions to make. And I think spending time exploring what's driving those decisions and how do people that achieve good outcomes, how do they make those decisions? So I think there's a lot of practical takeaways for this in this episode for you, as well as reminders of, one of the key ways to be more successful is to model those that are already achieving success. So success breaks down into there are patterns and principles of thinking and acting that are proven and that will create the type of results that you want. So this is really a deep dive exploration into that. That's one of the best parts of my work, is I get to meet incredible practice owners like Erika and I've learned as much from Erika as she learns from me. And I think it's one of the real values of having a community like Optical Success Academy. So today is about really exploring what is it that great practice owners think differently. Well, how do they think differently, and how does that, drive everything that they're doing? So we're going to deep dive into those types of principles. So I hope you'll enjoy this. And if this resonates with you, if this kind of mindset and attitude really resonates with you, then please get in touch. And there are ways to become more involved in the Optical Success Academy community. And if you know another practice owner or an optical entrepreneur who also kind of subscribes to this mindset and this attitude, then please share the podcast with them as well. So without further ado, let's meet Erika. Enjoy the episode. Okay, so excellent. Thank you all for being here. And thank you particularly, Erika, for joining us. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having me, Conor.
So as we've talked about, I really wanted to, in this episode, to dissect and dive into a little bit of the thinking that makes great practice owners different, and look at the kind of the mindset of success. And you were one of our members that came to mind as somebody that would be great to have an interesting conversation about that with. And I think specifically for you as well, I'll ask you to tell your quick story in a moment, but I've always admired that despite already having a really successful practice, even before you joined Optical Success Academy, you've always stayed really engaged with what we do and very open-minded and proactive about doing things that can improve your business further. A real willingness to learn and keep improving, and also a real generosity and willingness to share with other members when we're, whether we're on a Zoom or in a physical room. So I really admired that. And I think that is a sign of the mindset that is a huge part of what makes people successful, and then particularly what makes communities like Optical Success Academy work. So I thought an interesting conversation around that, you would be the right kind of person.
Well,
so are you happy just to tell us a little bit about your story in terms of your practice? How would you describe your practice and what you've built and what you're continuing to build?
Sure. So I moved to a new area. I'm from Denver, moved to Savannah, Georgia, and just couldn't find like a happy place to work. So I kind of created one. I opened Forsight in 2019, and I was my only employee. And I saw my first patient August 16th of 2019. And now we've grown, and I have an associate doctor and 10 key staff members. And it's just been such a joy to grow something from nothing and have success that's come out of it. So,
and for you, let's just kind of get a couple of quick specifics, just so you know as well. I'm sure Jerry would be delighted to know this when you have your next call with him. Jerry, who's my dad, they got married on the 16th of August. So that's their wedding anniversary. And the reason he likes to go on about that is it's also, they got married the day Elvis died. He died on the 16th of August, 1977. And my dad, like, he died of a broken heart. So he loved that, that you open your practice on the 16th of August. But that's a tangent that I'll quickly come back to.
My favorite part of OSA. Sorry, Conor.
So, and you said you were your first employee, obviously. Like, how quickly did you build your team? How fast did you start hiring? And, how did your team look 6 months in, a year in? Can you remember roughly?
I brought Shara on about 4 weeks after I opened. And then a year in, I brought another optician in, and then I brought a front desk person in, and then it's kind of just from there. I should kind of go back and look at, different key points, but a lot of my team members have been with me almost since they started. I've lost a couple here and there with like moves or different things, but people come, they stay, and that is probably the most rewarding part about ownership.
So let's talk about this then. So if you're, hiring Shara in 2019, because I think that raises the question, well, what job did she take? Not just the physical job, but like, what was she buying into here? Were you able to communicate a vision that you had to Shara about this is why I'm opening this practice. This is what I want it to be. This is what we want to do. What was that story?
Exactly what I told her. I interviewed her actually on a Sunday before she was going to work at a corporate place here called Eyeglass World. And she was working like 7 days a week in the management position over there. And I was like, I really could give you a better hours if you could believe in what I have, but I can't start you at what you're making there. But I promise if you stick with me, we can make it work. And she has loved the work schedule, and she has loved building the practice with me. She takes a lot of ownership and responsibility in that. And it's been great having her on board because of that. But she had worked corporate America for about 13 years in the management position for Eyeglass World and then Vision Works before that. And she was just tired of, just patients being numbers and not building relationships, because Shara is definitely a relationships kind of person. So when I met her, I knew that was important for her.
So even for you, if we go back to your motivations, I know from your story of you moved to Savannah for your husband's work.
Yeah.
Isn't that right? And so you were moving, and then you decided you couldn't really find anywhere you wanted to work. So you wanted to create your own practice. So can you explain that? What was it that you wanted to create that wasn't easily available for you to walk into as an employee? What kind of practice were you trying to create? What were some of the things that was motivating you?
I sit in a dark room all day, so I wanted it to be aesthetically pleasing for myself to show up and feel comfortable at the office. And I hadn't found that anywhere. Everything was so sterile and dark and neutral colored. And that was something that I had a big vision in mind, was just like, how can I make this somewhere I want to be every day? And then the other thing is, I'm a huge relationships person. I think that's why my brain stays young and why I feel like I'm in a healthier state of mind all the time, is because relationships are so important to me. And moving to a new area, I didn't have those relationships that I've had back home for so long. So that was my first goal, is just to meet people and start building that relationship in that community, because that's what I missed the most. And I felt like if I had an inviting place for that to happen, that it would happen organically. And it definitely has.
Yes. Okay. And then if we talk, obviously you mentioned aesthetics, which is great. And that makes a lot of sense if this is the place you spend more time than your home. So number one, create a place that you love, and that'll actually appeal to other people that are that way inclined and appreciate aesthetics. But if we kind of just take that a step further to the eyewear that you choose to work with, the brands and the collections, I know you work with a lot of the similar ethos and brands that we work with. How did that happen for you? Were you already familiar with Teo and Anna Valentin and, all those types of companies before, or did you discover that somewhere else along your journey?
So right out of school, I joined a group practice out of Denver, and they had multiple locations, but they were still independently owned. And they all carried independent frame companies. So Aunt Teo, Annette Valentin, and that's where I kind of grew my liking for it all and realized, well, people do enjoy nice eyewear, and so I originally started that, but I was the only person in the area that was going to carry anything like that. So it was really difficult to get some of those accounts open. Like when I had Annette Valance and Rep come through and, they make you fill out all that paperwork about, the economy in your area. And I think every homeless person walked by when he was there. And he's like, I don't know if you could do this, Erika. And I was like, I think I can. Just trust that it will come, and I was the only person in my building. It was still a very, very vacant building. And the corridor that I'm on is MLK, and MLK historically in the United States tends to have areas that just aren't supported community wise and business wise. And I was the first business in there, and I really think I was the reason that it kind of paved the way. And I credit that to my nice eyewear.
Excellent. Well, and what does MLK mean?
Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh, okay.
It's
the street, or
it's the name of the street, but it's in every big city. But
every big city has one. Okay, cool.
Rights movement.
Yes. Okay. So you would say the area that you're in now has raised up.
It's booming.
Yeah, and you would say you were there at the beginning. So I think, again, going back to like, what's the mindset that's going on here for successful people? One is I'm picking up, belief in myself. I've got a bit of a vision. You kind of know what you like. You're thoughtful about things. You're kind of honest about, I know this might be hard. I know this doesn't look like the best area. Even employing Shara as your first employee, I know I might not be able to offer you financially what you currently have, but I can offer you this, and long term it's going to look like that. So I think just almost an acceptance of the situation and a belief that you can make things happen. And I think that's another point about purpose as to why are we doing things, and it's not just, so what I haven't heard is, well, I opened the practice because I wanted to make more money. It's everything you're talking about is much more purposeful in relationships and aesthetics, and but I think one of the purposes that a lot of people miss, a lot of practice owners miss, is you can be a business where you lift the whole community around you. People are where people almost could describe their business in relation to, it's on the same street as, Forsight, that amazing, cool opticians, so that amazing, cool optical practice. So I think as independent businesses, we have the opportunity to be a shining example of a community-based business that thrives, that really treats people in a way that makes them feel good. And so I think that's really good. That's really interesting that you've done that. And then just practice-wise, size-wise, are you happy to share just any numbers or any, just to give people an idea of, starting from zero, where are you at now? Kind of.
We just passed the half-year mark, and we're a little over 1.5 million. So I'm shooting for 3 million this year. I have an associate doctor, and both of us work 3 days a week, about 30 hours of patient care per week. We overlap one day because we're only open Monday through Friday. So we overlap on Thursday, but we do offer early morning and late evening appointments to avoid working Saturdays for us. I just hired my 10th employee. So between the 2 doctors and the 10 employees, I've always felt like if an employee comes to you looking for a job, they're more likely to stay. And so the person that I just hired, maybe we weren't ready for an employee, but I didn't want to pass up on an optician, especially because they're much harder to come by here. So I just brought her on and trying to get her up to speed.
Yeah. So you were kind of looking ahead, your area, you saw the potential. You weren't walking into an amazing area. Shara, you showed her the potential of the job. You weren't offering an amazing package to start with. You're hiring a next employee for the next steps, and because you see the potential. So I think, again, these are some of the traits that kind of fuel that success. And yeah, I think just looking at what you're doing numbers wise, you're definitely going to be up in the top 5% of independent practices, I would say, for the number of, essentially it's really just one optometrist when you break down what we're doing 6 days between us. But it's interesting. I think the way you've gotten there is a really, really good way. It's not on volume, because you don't have that, you don't have the capacity, and that's not what you wanted. And it's also coming from a place of, well, I wanted to create a practice that I really enjoyed as the kind of ethos. So some of this is really simple stuff, but it's amazing how many practice owners don't really think that stuff matters. And they think the route to success is just, do as many as we can, as many people as possible, do the same as everybody else. Let's, compete on price. And I think, again, you're an example of the mindset that can lead to a better level of success. It resonates with me because for me, I never set out to build the biggest optical practice. And I don't have the biggest optical practice. So my practice would do £1.5 million. But what I wanted to build was a practice that was highly profitable, very differentiated, which is probably a version of me having something that I feel I like and that is not just the same as everything else that's out there. Something that's remarkable for patients. For me, that's a sign of me achieving my goal. It's what the patients, what the clients think about it. And also a business is capable of thriving without me personally being in it every day. So over the last 17 years now for Jones & Co, that is the philosophy, the simple philosophy that allowed me to build a practice where I just work in it one day a week. Our average eyewear sale, our profitability is 4 or 5 times the industry average. And we've created the kind of team and the kind of culture that a lot of independents, I think, aspire to have. And then, that's what led me to Optical Success Academy, just basically sharing that, because I think a lot of practice owners, a lot of independents are capable of having a business that is better than the norm and better than, and it's within reach if they're brave enough to just kind of, trust these principles and trust this way of thinking. So, so for you then, what was it that attracted you to OSA, Erika, in the first place, would you say?
That you guys were really independent and you believe that independent eyewear was really truly the path to differentiation. I was part of a group here and I would show up and they're like, you can sell a $600 frame. I was like, oh yeah, you should too, and it was just a constant battle. And I just felt like this is very weird. Why can't I find a group? I'm not the only person that does this. In the States, we don't have a group like Optical Success Academy until I found you through a Warby Parker ad during COVID. And I was like, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I say all the time. Why am I not part of this group? And here I just feel like like you said, we're just trying to do the same thing as they're doing down the way. I opened with consultants and they were like, well, you have to bring in Ray-Ban. I was like, there's something in my life that you should know. I don't have to do anything. Like I'm not one to be told what to do. So no, I don't have to do that. Yes, you do. You have to have that. And that's what's going to get people to walk in the door. And I said, I don't wear Ray-Ban. I'm not doing that. I don't believe in it. I'm so sorry. And I was thinking, did I just pay these people tens of thousands of dollars to tell me bring in Ray-Ban? So I just couldn't find a community. But when I found OSA, I was just like, wow, every little thing, even though it's simple, right? Like it's stuff that we should all do. I'm like, why don't I do this? How come I haven't done that? And it's just been really cool to elevate from, I joined OSA, like 3 years ago almost, January?
It must be around that. It was at the Austin meeting, wasn't it? Yeah, about 3 years, I reckon.
And so I've been able to implement little things. And I think that's where my growth is coming from. Cause, I don't know that I would have picked up on some of these little things without being in the same room with people that have done it. And things like the pricing strategy or the eyewear discovery that starts at the front. And I was growing so much because I was new, but then I got to a point that I needed to fill the seats with better people and learn that marketing. And
so, because by most people's definition, though, your practice was amazingly successful before you came to Optical Success Academy. Whatever you were doing at least 1.5 million, I think, at the time, maybe more. I don't know.
Maybe 1.7, I think, when I joined.
Okay, so and you've only been going at that point 5-6 years. So what do you need?
So I'm going in my 7th year. Like this August will be 7 years. So
most people, my point on the mindset is most people would think, I've got this figured out. I know what I'm doing. Why would I go and listen to someone else or be part of some group that? So why were you still looking for help? What was it about what was it you were trying to improve, or why do you think you were looking for help?
Yeah, I kept getting that question a lot when I was just like asking people around about different ideas, or, hey, have you ever heard of this group? They're like, why do you care? You're already, I'm like, whoa, that's a terrible mindset to have. I don't know. I've just never been that way.
Yeah.
My mom, I'm a Taurus, and my mom has always said, gosh, you're so strong willed. There's no way to like control you, like, so I don't know if it just comes from the core, but I just see if there's something that I could improve, whether it's my marriage, my health, my team, it's just, why not try, and for me, I honestly never thought in my life that I would be making the money that I'm making. Honestly, when you guys send me the goals and stuff, I'm like, I don't know, Char, can you fill that out? Because I don't keep track of that stuff. Because for me, it's the patients that rely on me. It's the community nonprofits that I support. It's my team. Like, just seeing them thrive is just so fascinating to me. Shara almost makes double what she started with. And I just feel like so empowered that I'm paying people now and doing that kind of stuff. But I think it just comes from wanting to see something flourish and wanting to see something do better.
Yeah.
I guess it's a mindset that maybe I'm stuck with.
Well, I think if you were lying on the psychologist's couch, I'd be picking up on little things that you said with real belief. I don't have to do anything, that kind of stuff is like the mindset. And I'm like that as well. I think you come across probably more confident and strongly worded, but in a very nice way than I do. But I probably wouldn't say anything, but internally I'm like, I don't have to do anything. So I think that's definitely a mindset of success, and it's absolutely true. It's, so I think but for me, probably how I came to that mindset was through a good upbringing, I think, in terms of, being in a big family, having responsibility, having expectations. My dad, who, was, he was building his own business. He was an accountant and running his own accountant's practice and has 5 kids. And, you can imagine the stresses that come with that. But whenever I get a result at school, whether it's primary school or, secondary school in Ireland, the question would be, well, how did you do? I got, 97%. Well, what happened to the other 3%? That was, and he didn't mean anything by it, but I don't know. It just became ingrained in my mind that, okay, expectations are high. I'm capable of stuff. Just need to believe in myself, work hard, try harder, can always do better, can always learn. But then really, I think what supercharged it was when I opened my own business, I realized there's so much stuff I don't know anything about in terms of trying to do what we need to do as a business. And some of that was industry stuff, like going to trade shows and figuring out what is actually available in the eyewear world. But a lot of it was just the psychology stuff of what makes people tick, and how do I motivate and manage myself, and how do I motivate and manage other people. So really just going down a rabbit hole of personal development and all of that. So I think there's probably a mix of some of that is inbuilt from our nature and our nurture and how we're upbrought, and but a lot of it is controllable by what you choose to pay attention to and what you choose to study and put into your mind. So yeah, I love you said again, I don't have to do anything. So that's like a sign of the belief that drives a lot of the success. I also remember in one of the meetings as well, somebody asked you about your competition, and you said in the same way, "Oh, I don't care about my competition." And is that a fair remembering of something you said?
I don't let them follow me. I don't follow them because I don't want to know what they're up to. I just want to know what I'm up to. That's one thing that I've found in business is once you start comparing yourself to other people, you bring your spirits down. And for me, I have to keep my energy high because I can tend to be a little bit of a pessimistic person. Like, well, we should do this better. We got to do this better. And really, if I just focus on making myself better, then I don't have to compete or compare.
Yeah. And I think when you study or get into the world of all this stuff and stoicism and all this kind of stuff, there's a lot of principles that I resonate with because it kind of confirms how I'm thinking. So one of the things in psychology is, there's on a sheet of paper, big line down the middle, there's stuff in the world that you can't control. Your competition, the media, the economy, all that. And then there's a big, long list of stuff you can control. And I think successful people are really oriented to, why would I even bother to, it's not nice that some of that stuff is going on, but I can't change it. I can change all of this. And actually the knock-on effect of me doing this stuff is I'm creating good in the world that can actually indirectly probably have an impact. So I think that whole idea for people listening is what can you control versus what can't you control. And there's a lot of stuff that you can control. Just get busy putting all your energy into that. Okay, so kind of just to dig into the mindset a little bit more, I think, again, most practice owners, what they think are things like, I need more clients, I need more patients, I need more profit. My staff, oh my God, they're driving me crazy. I need them to perform better. I'm working too much. I wish I didn't have to work as much. My practice feels stuck. Though we could be doing better. Like those are a lot of the thoughts of what people have and what they want. But I think the solution to all those things starts in the mind, and it starts in your mindset. It starts in your attitude towards these things. So let's see. Why do you think it's important to keep learning even when things are already going well? Come on, surely now, Erika, you can take your foot off the gas. You just told me you're doing 3 million. Relax a little. Like, why do you feel it's important to still keep learning?
I guess for me, I enjoy it. I enjoy trying to figure out the next thing or how to be better at one thing. And one thing with OSA has taught me is like, it's okay that I don't work, but it's okay that I have other people work. Like in May, I worked 3 days the whole month and we still grew in the month of May. And so learning ways to do that, I would have never thought about doing that had I not met OSA. I just thought, oh, this is what you do when you own a business. You just work, you just do these things and see patients and do more. And I realized when I met you, I just need to figure out how to increase my value, my dispense value, so that I can work less. And whenever I'm not seeing patients and I'm able to learn more, I've learned more about marketing. I've learned more about my marriage. I've learned more about my community. And that's what I don't know. I just feel like if you're not learning, you're going backwards, or if you're not improving, you're going backwards. And my brother thinks it's a mental illness.
Yeah.
So, but,
and I think it's just a matter of perspective as well. A lot of people think I'm not crazy, but a bit of a lunatic, because it can either be, like often my team will say, well, nothing's ever good enough. And I'm like, well, you could say it that way, but I'm like, look, we can always keep growing. I want to keep growing and learning, not because I want more and more and more, but I enjoy learning and doing better and care about what we do. And I want to have more impact. And so
we've all what happens when you stop doing that stuff, right? Like if you stop showing up and you stopped encouraging them to do one thing different, it would literally start going backwards.
Yeah.
And exactly. I personally that would tear me apart. So I think for me, it's like, well, why not just try and be 1% better tomorrow? Like, why not learn this one extra thing? And now I'm kind of focusing more on not just Forsight, because I feel like I have key people in place to do that now, but I permanent reminder service with different things. And then now I'm kind of focusing, okay, now my parents are aging, my life here. So I'm trying to figure out like that kind of stuff, which is always a part of learning,
Yeah. And there's a couple of thoughts there. Let me think. So I think there's different phases in life as well. So what you want and what's most important in this year will be different to next year, will be different to last year, because, life is constantly evolving and changing. And like you said, with your parents or whatever, everybody has an individual situation that's constantly changing. But I think a permanent is if you have this desire to keep learning, and this desire or this understanding and appreciation that you're in control, you can change things, and you don't have to do anything. Nobody tells you what to do, all of that stuff. Then you can make your world the way you think is best for the the situation that you're in. I've been reading a book by Charlie Munger, who was Warren Buffett's partner, and he's a big guy, but he's obviously an investment guy. He's died now. He was 99 years old and died last year. But he was very big on philosophy, and one of his kind of key takeaways for like what was the meaning of life, and what his quote was, I think the meaning of life is learn, and that was it. Just learn. You just keep learning, and that's what leads you to a rich and fulfilling life. So I think that's a permanent to have. But the next step beyond that, some people are willing to learn, but they're never brave enough to do anything. And again, that's something I've noticed very quickly about you, is you're always willing to test ideas, implement quickly, take action. Even we mentioned permanent reminder service. So that was something I think I mentioned in the very first meeting, was which it's okay that we have to tell our team 100 times to do this thing, because that's part of our job as a leader, be permanent reminder service. And you like that idea, but within a week, you've got a badge made up with Dr. Erika Morrow, permanent reminder service. And you're like, you don't just learn it and think, oh, that's interesting. You're like, okay, I can use that. And instantly it
changed my mindset, because sometimes you're just like, what the crap? I've already told you this. Like, we're talking about this one more time. And then I was like, I'm the permanent reminder service. That's what I do.
Yeah. So where do you think that bias towards action comes from for you?
I guess some of that comes, I'm one of 8 kids. And so I grew up with a house full of things. And so anytime you needed something done, you had to take action yourself. Like, my mom wasn't there to tell me to do my homework. She wasn't there to tell me to do the right thing. But I just knew that if I wanted to do better, or, see something actually get done, like my laundry, I had to take action. So I think that's just been the way I was raised. And I've just taken action on everything. When I met my husband, I was like, well, what? You need to do this or that. Like, well, how would you have not done that yet? And he's like, oh, okay, this is great. And he'll tell you to this day, he's like, within a year, my whole life was different after meeting Erika. So, and it's just like things that I'm like, oh, well, I don't do things like that. Like, maybe we should do this financially or that financially. And I think it just comes from my upbringing.
And independence, probably from your upbringing. And I definitely got that as well. And I'm the eldest 5 kids. And so I was 13 when, there's me, my brother, my sister, and there's like 2 years between us. And then there's a gap of maybe, 8 years. And then I got 2 other brothers. So I was 13 when we had like a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. And literally every weekend, my mom and dad would be out just trying to forget they had 5 kids. And I'd be babysitting and looking after my granda, who's like on death's doorstep in the corner, and like juggling the kids and getting the kids in bed. So, character building stuff. So I had a bit of that as well. But for me, one of the things that I think leads me to a bias towards action and gives me like a sense of urgency about doing things is starting from scratch as well. So even like the early days, my first practice scene when we opened it in 2004, starting from zero, we weren't as successful as you in terms of how quickly we grew. There was definitely the first year is like, okay, we didn't pay ourselves a penny, and we actually had to work in other practices 2 days a week just to make an income. And it was still positive and exciting. We were learning lots, but there was like lots of money going out, not enough money coming in. So very quickly we got the message that, okay, we need to do things to make results happen. And then working literally for 3 years working for free for 3 years. Then when I bought Jones & Co., that was a business that was failing because there was more money going out than coming in, and staff were all over the place. And it was, there were a lot of things that were wrong. So failure came from, not taking a lot of these things seriously and doing them the right way. So for me, that's kind of just ingrained in no, we have to, these things matter. We need to get them right. So I think it's helpful if you have those difficult experiences to just help you understand why things matter and why we need to make today count and this week count and this month. And let's just get on with what we need to do, because the alternative is nobody's happy. So yeah. So
I think one thing about mindset, like even with just the way the things that you just said, is I feel like successful people, they look for solutions, not problems. Or if they are looking for a problem, they're automatically looking for a solution. And I probably get 4 or 5 messages a week, if not more, people just asking me questions, and I'm like, and I'm not the kind of person that's ever going to reach out to someone and ask for free questions or free advice, or I just feel like time is so valuable because I know how valuable my time is. And I feel like successful people, we just find solutions and we find people that we can pay to help us. And we're okay taking that leap and spending on that, whether it's marketing or consulting or whatever. I think that's truly like a mindset that I've noticed with successful practices versus people that just ask a bunch of questions. And I'm like, I don't mind answering the questions. Like, that's not what I have an issue with, but like have you looked into any of it yourself? So like yesterday I told somebody, just go onto my Google reviews and you'll see what I do differently, because people talk about them. There's over 1,000 reviews and it's unsolicited, just organic stuff that we do. Oh, but what about this and what kind of this? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I don't have the time to answer you. I want to, but I don't, but if you want to do some research and then ask me some questions, I'm happy to follow up, but that's one thing I've noticed, just about you and your group is if we come to you with a question, it's like, let me find that answer for you right away, or here's this, or here's that. Have you thought about it this way? And that's something that's very, but
yeah. And often a lot of the time as well is there's a lot of questions I get about, I'm not sure. I need to think about that. Or, there's an openness to let's solve what's the problem. Let's properly think about it. And because I think that's another differentiator of the success mindset is a lot of people, I just want the easy answer, just quick, just tell me the answer. And often that answer, the first answer you think of is not the right answer. Like the first answer would be, well, open a practice, get Ray-Ban, open somewhere that there's, it's a busy place. And it's like, those are all awful answers. They come to mind probably first, but they're not the right answer. You kind of need to be willing to struggle and go a little bit deeper and properly think about things. So I think that willingness to not look for the easy option and not look just for the quick answer and is another trait. And also, like you mentioned, like when sometimes people where they're not really that committed to, I don't know whether it's a lack of commitment or a lack of belief or but they'll tend to get hung up on one detail that doesn't really matter that much. It'd be a bit like if I said to you, you're a permanent reminder service, like literally that's your job title. And then you got hung up on, I really like that, but I'm not sure whether I should get a metal badge for my nameplate or a plastic one. So where would be the best place to get the bet? And it's like, who gives a crap? Just whatever, pick it up and handwrite it on the post-it. No, it doesn't. So sometimes people get stuck on the wrong detail. And I think it's helpful if you kind of keep in mind, what's my outcome? What am I trying to do? What am I trying to achieve with this? That kind of keeps you on the right track. And a question I ask my team a lot is what's the outcome? What are you trying to do? And then what's your plan? Is your plan good enough to make that outcome happen? And if it's not, well, what do you need to change? You need to figure out something else. And it's just trying to build that habit of thinking, I think, allows people to get results, because otherwise we kid ourselves and we're like, well, this is my plan. And literally the person knows that, well, this plan, this isn't going to work, but it's my plan. So I'm just going to go along with it. And it's just a relentless ability to just look at the brutal reality of this situation. And then let's decide what we need to do. Excellent. Hopefully everybody listening doesn't think we're two weirdos. Two psychopaths.
Well, I feel like there's a lot of us out there, because when I come to the OSA things or I'm in my little group chats, I'm like, see, there's people that are just like me. It's normal.
It's normal. Yeah, exactly.
Normal.
So let's see.
Well, I wanted to say one thing about mindset. So I think for me, I think of every single employee I have, every single vendor I have, every single company that I work with as a partner. And I feel like sometimes I'll be talking to other business owners and they see their staff as a problem. They see their vendor as the issue and they're complaining about this vendor. And I'm like, I mean, if they were complaining about me like that, I would be really sad. Have you tried to address it like, as a partnership, not necessarily as like, I'm paying them, they should do this, and I feel like that's why my team is so successful. And that's why I'm able to do what we do. I wouldn't do any of this if I didn't have a team. Like 100%. I know that. Like if Shara were to leave me tomorrow, it would take me a while to kind of get back on my feet and figure out everything out, because I think of her as a very integral part of my business. And I don't ever think of my team as problems, and I don't think of my vendors as people that can't help me, because every single person I pay or every single vendor I work with are my employees. They're the reason I'm here. And I think that's an important mindset. And it's been that way since I was young. Every relationship was like, how could I help them to help me? Because there's nothing in life you could do entirely on your own.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I think if we're grateful for the people that helped us, that actually makes us better and feel better. So I love that. It reminds me when one of the things we started when we kind of first, wasn't at the very beginning, but when we first sat down to write, what are our values? Like, what are the things that we think are most important? And the top one was, we called it Deliver Wow, which we really stole from a book by Tony Hsieh called Delivering Happiness. But he was the guy that started the company Zappos. But Deliver Wow was this value. That's the most important thing. And we made a little poster and all that. But it Deliver Wow, it didn't say just to clients. It said to all our clients, to all our suppliers and vendors, to all our team. The whole ethos was anybody that comes in contact with this business and the people in this business in any shape or form, we should be wowing them, whether they're a vendor, a neighboring business, the delivery man, a staff person, somebody that's coming for an interview that's never going to get the job, somebody that's not the right fit as a client. Like, we're trying to treat everybody with the same positive experience and not the same experience in that we obviously know commercially who's a customer, who's not, but we still treat people with the same respect, and we want them to go out feeling a little bit better because they've had some kind of interaction with us. So I completely aligned with that mindset. And I think that goes back to puts you in control. You don't have to do anything, and you can do whatever you want. That belief is, again, that puts you firmly in the driver's seat about making decisions. The opposite of that would be being a victim of, I'm the victim of my staff. If only my staff were better, and if vendors were better, and if they did this, and suppliers, if they were better at that's like completely powerless. Versus if you adopt the mindset that you're talking about, which is, I'm in control here. I can choose. There's lots of things I can do. There's lots of things I can focus on that's in my control. Then now you can approach your staff as a partnership. You can approach everything as a partnership.
Right. Use it every person. Like, we were having terrible problems with mail, and it just got really frustrating because, these really expensive glasses or the contacts we were just having a terrible problem with it. But I finally just stopped the man. I said, let me buy you a coffee. Can we just, is there anything I could do to make your day better? Because I want you to have a better day. How could I make that happen? Do you know I never missed my mail after that? Yeah. It was just acknowledging him, and that his job was hard, and that we depended on him, and we are there for him if he needs it. And I do that with every single one of my key staff members. I mean, it's just so important to be a good person, because it in turn helps you. Like, now I never miss my mail,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And it's, I know as well that you're not doing that in a manipulative way. You're just doing it because the things that we're talking about this is the way we are all the time with everything. There's no criteria about, well, we turn it off if we think they're not going to buy anything, or, it's always on. So I think it's, this again probably goes back to your mindset and your attitude is the same for everything. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. It's kind of that. And I think sometimes people trip themselves up if they think, well, I'll try really hard over here, but then over here I don't care, because obviously it's not going to, he's never going to buy any glasses from me, so why would I bother? It's, people just waste so much energy, I think, and miss so much opportunity, and by not getting clear about what is their mindset and their attitudes, and just fully going with it. So I love that. So let's see so I would say, again, for people in Optical Success Academy, what I notice is it's not always, and as I said, it's not always about, it's the biggest practices or it's the most successful people that get the most out of it. I think really what unites people in the Optical Success Academy community, the ones that really benefit from being here, are simply people who are open-minded, they're positive, and they are willing to take action. That's basically it. And I think it's that mindset of these types of things, that's what makes it work, more than where your practice is and how well you're doing and how long have you had your practice and how big is your team. It's not got anything to do with that. It's got everything to do with your attitude and your approach. And I think sometimes other conferences and other groups, both in the UK and Ireland and America, Canada, the norm is, I think for, our kind of people, often you'll hear that experience that you had, which is these people, they just don't think like I do. And almost a desire that I wish there was more engaged people. I wish there were more proactive people. And that for me is what, is special about what we have in OSA. So what if you could describe the person that would get the most value from being in the OSA community? What would they be like? What would be some of the traits or the qualities of the kind of practice owner that would benefit from this type of community, you think?
Someone that believes in taking action, even on the smallest detail, like creating buttons, implementing a pricing guide. I mean, just someone that thinks that even simple things matter. Because that's where I've seen big changes from implementing some of your small, like quote, smaller ideas, but they're simple ideas, but they're really impactful. Somebody that doesn't complain a lot. Like, okay, I have this issue. How do I make it better? Like I came to you and I said, hey, I'm at the Mastermind meeting. I'm going to do this remodel and I don't know what to do. And I have this whole list of plan that after my, panel that I know what to do now, and so someone that's just willing to come with an idea or an issue, but be willing to be open to problem solving and implementing the action to make the issue not an issue anymore. And then someone that wants to like be continuous. What do you say? Constant, never ending improvement. And that has just really stuck with me is just like, yeah, that's what we do every day is just someone that believes in that. But to do it, in order to do that, you have to be someone that takes action. You can't be someone that complains,
Yeah. Yeah. Because otherwise nothing changes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's turning that learning into action. Do you think, so I think one of the traps business owners can fall into is becoming isolated and feeling they have to figure everything out for themselves. What do you think about that? What's your approach to that? So because it's normal, or it's not normal, it's common that people will think it's their responsibility to figure it out by themselves and don't spend any money. Like, what's your thought process around solving problems and not doing it alone?
I don't like to do anything alone. So I don't really feel like, I just feel like there's so much help out there. You just have to be willing to look for it and then willing to pay for it. And so for me, I knew I was never going to be able to implement all this stuff myself. So I was like, Shar, please come with me to this meeting in Austin. I want to see if this group is right for us. She had a whole page of notes. I had a whole page of notes. And then like we went back with action. But then I realized, you know what? I really don't want to take all these notes on marketing. So I'm going to have the person that does all my marketing come with me. And I don't feel like there's a reason that you should do anything alone because you're not going to do it great because you're good at what you do, but you're not great at what everyone does. And so I believe in paying professionals to come, and whether that's my team member or you guys or my website people, it's just like, I don't know how to write a blog every month, every week. So I paid someone to help me make sure that gets done, or, like my financial stuff. Okay. I know I'm going to have this meeting with this person. So let me just pay them because it's going to hold me accountable to do that. And I know you're the same way with that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's a part of, again, just very pragmatic thinking about things is being honest with ourselves about what's going to stop me doing it while I'm busy. I'm going to put it off. I'm going to forget. I'm going to have a load of other things going on. So that's what's going to get in my way. And then being clear about, well, what's the outcome that I want and what's the upside of doing this and what could I do to make sure this happens. And if I spend money on something, if I commit to another person where I've got another person that I'm doing this with, suddenly I'm going to get better behavior out of myself. I'm going to take it more seriously and I'll actually get the result. And then I get the upside. So I think it's the same thing as like, personal, if somebody joins the gym but struggles to go versus if you pay for a personal trainer and you're meeting them at a set agreed time, you've managed to get yourself there. So it's pretty simple. It's like we're all human beings and we kind of just need to set things up in a way that makes it easier for us to follow through.
Yeah.
So it's that, and again, it's that you then need, of course, you understand, well, this needs to positively have a positive impact on the business. So how is that going to happen and what needs to happen? So there's still a pragmatism around what results need to come from this and what things do we need to do to get the result. So you're kind of working backwards from the outcome. And then these things are just details that allow you to get there. But team, just quickly on your team, I know you've mentioned your team quite a lot. I think leadership is a big responsibility and one of the key jobs that any practice owner has. And I think you've done an exceptional job bringing your team with you on that journey. So is there anything else you would say about why that was important or what difference has it made to your practice where it's not the Erika show? It's, you've been bringing your team and developing your team in terms of their confidence and their abilities the whole way along. What is the difference that's made?
I blame it on your guys' cute accents. So if they hear it from you, they think all of a sudden, and Char's like, some of the stuff Conor says, you've said exactly, but just without the accent. I was like, okay, as long as you're hearing it, but I just feel like with the team, when you include them and I think like invest in them and you give them a little fun out of it and take them from their environment that they're in every day into something that's very special, whether it's Austin or Chicago or Boston, like all of a sudden they feel very important, right? And, oh, we went here, we did this. And now they want to kind of repay you and they want to do better and show you that they've taken something from it. So hopefully that answered your question. I don't know.
Well, no, I mean, you've talked about your team a lot, which again is the mindset of what's behind what Erika has said. She couldn't do anything without her team. Even from the beginning, she was getting their first employee excited about the future, even though she didn't have very much to offer her other than an idea and a concept. And every opportunity to develop her team, I'm going to bring this person to do that. And then next time I'm going to bring this person to do this. So those are kind of the outcome or the results of the way that you think about your team. But I think if you go back to just the simple version, most practice owners, if you think about why did you open your practice? Well, I wanted a practice that I love. Okay. Will you have a team in this practice? Yeah, of course I need staff. Okay, great. Would you like a team that can run the show without you? Oh, that would be nice. Would you like a team that are happy, smiling, fully engaged, confident, capable, loving their job? Or would you like a team where you just moan and complain about them and they're miserable and you never really do anything to really actually change that? And like we all know this innately that what we want is, we're probably, most of us are pretty agreed on, I want that team. I want a brilliant team. I want a team that I'm proud of, that love their jobs, that are grateful to me and proud of themselves, and clients love them and we get results. And it doesn't really matter whether I'm there or not there. Like, okay, if that's what we want, what do we need to do? And now that makes the decisions easier about, okay, I'm doing this with my team. I'm doing that for that person. I'm going to have this little slightly awkward conversation because it's important, because if we don't, we're never going to get there. So I think it's just that clarity about outcomes that can help us with our team. A question I mentioned, or I shared yesterday on the masterclass call, was asking whether you're doing anything. I was talking about something simple like fitting appointments, but the question I used was, with whatever you're trying to do in your practice or anything you're trying to do as a new thing, just ask, will doing it this way deliver an incredible customer experience, allow us to hit our financial targets, and result in a brilliant, happy team? So if you can answer that question for anything important in your business, like, well, should I take my team to an OSA event as an example? Well, doing it this way allow us to offer an incredible customer experience, allow us to hit our financial targets, and result in a brilliant, happy team that love their job. If the way, should we see 30 patients in a day, or should we change our appointment slots so we spend longer with every time? Well, what will allow us to deliver an incredible customer experience, hit our financial targets, and have a brilliant, happy team? So like the answers are very obvious if we ask the right question, but I think the challenge is a lot of practice owners don't really stop long enough to ask themselves these questions, and they just get caught up in busy activity mode. But yeah, I agree. I'm the same. Team couldn't do it without it. Is there challenges running a team? Absolutely. But,
But I feel like your team's similar to mine. Like, we invest in them. They feel important. We reward them. We celebrate them. I'm not great at celebration, I'll be honest. So I just tell Char, can you please do this? And I'm the same way with myself. I don't celebrate. Like, I didn't even know I was on course for $3 million. And I met with my accountant. He's like, Erika, you need to celebrate that. I was like, oh, I didn't even notice. Thank you for, I just am not a celebrating person when it comes. I'm great at celebrating, like, oh, birthdays or something like that. But even for myself, I'm like, can you make sure that they do that? And then Char's like, no problem. Birthday cakes and you move. Let me celebrate that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, and I'm the same. I feel like I'm just a male version of Erika. If I could put your hair in my head, that would, there's not that much difference. But the way I tried to communicate it to my team in the beginning was, I don't know, one of the things, because I wasn't in my practice and I was purposely removing myself to be a bit more I'm happier behind the scenes and where I can think and plan and do, what I want to do that's going to help the business. But I would communicate to the team. So often if I would check up on something and say, what's going on with this? And that's not very good. Like, this needs to be better. Their very human tendency would be to think, oh, Conor doesn't trust us. Like, he's not. And I would explain to them, no, I trust you so much, which is why I leave you alone for 4 days or 5 days out of the week. I trust you so much. I let you run my whole business. And so sometimes it's just being able to convey, like, I'm not going to be coming along and patting you on the back and saying how incredible you are. That's just not really my way. But the acts, the things I'll do, the way I'll invest in you, the things I'll do for you, the way I'll try and help you anytime I can, the ability to just get out of your way and let you get on, like, please interpret those things in the way that, that I'm intending. So sometimes it's just miscommunication. So if we find ways to communicate to our team to make sure they perceive, they perceive what you want them to perceive. So the two things that jumped out from a couple of conversations, a couple of questions before, was there's an old book called The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. And one of the habits is start with the end in mind, which is don't just start doing stuff. You have to start with the end in mind, which is what we're talking about here about, well, what practice are you trying to build? What kind of team do you want? Start with that in mind, and that will tell you the path. As well as just on a superficial thing, like if you have a task today, well, what's the purpose? What's the end of this? What's the outcome? So that's a really good lesson. And then the other one from the 7 habits was, what was it? It was you have to look at it from their perspective and then look at it from your perspective. So to really have an impact on somebody or to make a difference, you need to look at everything from the other person's perspective first. So that really aligns with what you said about your staff. Don't just think they're a problem. Okay, let's look at it from their perspective. And then you can share your perspective and kind of meet in the middle, but you need to be really, really good at being able to looking at it from the other perspective. Like you said, with the delivery man, let's pause for a moment. Let's look at it from this guy's perspective and show a little bit of empathy and understanding for that. And that alone creates so much momentum and good work. Okay. So the last thing I wanted to just finish on is, so there's an idea that I've always liked, which is if you're the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room. So, and that's the challenge with success is you do things, you become successful, and then the danger is you start to think, I'm so smart, I've got nothing more to learn, and you stop learning. And I think some people, they get a bit of an ego around that, and they start, they like being the smartest person in the room, and they think I've got nothing to learn from anybody, and they take that a little bit of the mindset you're describing, which is I don't have to do anything, but they use it in a not very helpful way, which is everybody else is an idiot. And, and they stop learning. So the result is they stop learning. I think other people like me or like you, I don't want to be the smartest people in the room. I want to be around people that remind me and help me have thoughts and remind me of things I've forgotten, as well as, just challenge me up my thinking a little bit. So I think people want to be around, successful people want to be around, people that encourage them to think better. And I think, do you think, are you deliberately seeking out environments that challenge your thinking? Is there, anything in that for you? Is that something you've thought about?
Yeah. I like being a part of things where people share ideas and talk through things. And like the Mastermind meeting in Spain was a thing that I've never participated in something like that before. So it was kind of an interesting, oh, okay, well, we have this problem. How do we fix it? But I think being around people that, like in Savannah, it's very small business oriented. So with my Rotary, I've met some great small business owners, and it's so nice to, like, I had a problem with my website and I was like, hey, Carrie, I have this thing. I know you do this. Is there any way that you and I can meet? I could buy lunch and we can figure out if you can connect me with your person to help. And she's like, oh, no problem. I'd love to. So then she connected me with this person, but I wasn't nervous to ask her, even though she's a highly successful business owner. She owns several businesses in town. And I was like, hey, I really need your help. Is there any way that I can get that? And I think that's I feel like that's why I've been able to open up in Savannah where I knew nobody, is because I was willing to put myself in a room where I was nobody and there were all these people there. And I think I was able to see what they do, how they do it, and how they navigate it. And it's been very, very helpful.
And I think I imagine for anybody that, because I think what can unite successful people is a shared mindset, a like-mindedness around positive attitude. What can I do? I'm not moaning. I'm not whining. I'm focused on solutions. I believe in, people helping each other, and that people recognize that and want to, go out of their way to be helpful. So, okay. And what would you say you're excited about over the next few years? Anything that you're trying to improve, or personally, or as a business owner, is there anything particularly for you?
Personally, my mom just moved down near me, and so I want to try to figure out how to help her settle and me be the best daughter I could be without. One thing about my personality is I'm very direct, and sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad. And so I'm trying to get better there. The other thing is I'm doing a remodel at the office in November. So I'm going to value my practice. I'm going to send it off for all the information to get it valued. And then I'm going to do the remodel. And then in 5 years, I just kind of want to see what it did. And people are like, why are you doing that? Your office is really pretty. I was like, I don't know. I just feel like I should be dispensing from drawers, and I want it to look nicer. I need the flow better. There's these weird roadblocks. And so I'm really, really excited about that. And then my ultimate goal is to be working less over the next 2 years, thanks to you for inspiring me to be that person. And so I want to kind of get down to maybe like 1 day a week, and then hiring somebody for the others. And then maybe my husband has this 8-year, he's older than I am. So this 8-year idea for himself of where do we want to go? Where do we want to live? And so that's what we're working a lot on our personal finances to kind of get to the point.
Yeah. Lovely. That all sounds really exciting stuff. And I think as well with the original thing that you said here, which is I just want to build a practice that I really like. There's so much to be said for that, because that alone will keep you tinkering and doing things that keep it exciting and keep you learning. And I think we do this in our personal lives where, I had a great year last year. We, with the family, we did this trip and we did that, and we had this experience and that, and it was amazing. So we would never then say the next year, oh no, I'm not doing anything this year. I had a really good year last year, so why would I do anything? It's like, well, no, life's there to be lived and enjoyed. And I think if you bring that philosophy into your work as well, it just keeps things exciting and engaging, and it makes good things happen. So that's been great. The thing that obviously I'm excited about and looking forward to seeing you at Boston. So we're bringing the OSA Mastermind community together in Boston in September. So this is for our American and Canadian members particularly. So for people listening that have never been in an OSA meeting or a Mastermind retreat, what would you say to somebody who's wondering whether being in this type of room, and it's a small event, we've got space for 40, we'll have 40 people there. What would you say to someone who's wondering whether being in that kind of room would be worth the travel, the time, the cost of leaving your home and business to come and do something like that?
If you invest in it and you employ, even if you just, I will say, I joined 2.5, almost 3 years ago, and you leave with this whole overwhelming sense of all these things that I could do. But I've just over the last 2.5, 3 years, just implemented little bits over time, but you will see huge impact. And bring your key essential team members with you, because it's really hard to convey everything that you want to do without someone else hearing it. Because as a business owner or a doctor, you hear things differently than your staff does too. And they're more involved in how to the day-to-day and the patient facing experience. So it's so much easier to have them there to implement as well. So
yeah, cool. And I think as well, we haven't really talked about this, but the other thing that stands out from you is, and this again is, I was reading about this in Charlie Munger's book, and so he was talking about how one of his key traits for life is be patient. It's like a lot of the time the results only come if you're patient, and I think that's a differentiator for nothing anybody can do is going to transform anybody's business overnight. And even your business, your people will hear, oh my God, $3 million, she only works 3 days in May. But what they forget is, well, no, I had to be patient for however many years, and I had to do hundreds and hundreds of things. And some things didn't work well the first time, and I had to tweak and I had to adjust and I had to persist and I had to deal with this and deal with that. So it's that, that ability, that I guess just that realistic, pragmatic thinking about, this is a long term thing. It's not a get the quick answer, just one quick answer, and suddenly poof, everything's magic. It's not really like that. It's about the right principles and putting them into place and going on a journey that's enjoyable. So I think you excel in exhibiting that as well. So yeah, I think that's been a really cool conversation, Erika. Thank you very much for coming on and sharing some of what's kind of driving and motivating you. It's been cool. So I appreciate your time and appreciate you doing that.
Yes, thank you.
So
and thanks for the group, Conor. Like, we really do enjoy it. The team loves it. I mean, yeah. I just thank you for doing it, and I hope you continue.
Yeah, I definitely love doing it, and it's kind of what I set out to do is slightly different than what it's turned into is slightly different than what I thought. Like initially, for me, it was about let's share the strategies, like what to do with people, because we've done these things in my practice. It's different and it works, and let's share that with people. But kind of the side effect and the real purpose has become we've got this community now of all these amazing people that are like-minded and sharing, and we get a lot out of that as well. And my team as well love, like, they're more excited about their job because we get to do events in Madrid or Boston or New York or Austin or London or wherever we're going. So suddenly it's another reason that inspires them. So it's all of this. There's a positivity and a knock-on effect. So yeah, for me, I get a lot of it. So, but it makes all the more easy by having great people to work with like you and your team and the mastermind members that we have. So I appreciate it, and I wish you well in your mission to be the best daughter that you can be. Yes, I'll see you in September. Thank you, Erika.